Hi everyone, and thank you for joining us today for 5 keyword bidding strategies to jumpstart your PPC. I'm Anna Sawyer. I'm the marketing manager here at Trada, and before we start, I'm just going to go over a couple things so that you all feel very comfortable listening to our webinar. First of all, yes, this webinar will be recorded. We will absolutely be sharing with you a recording and a link to the slides and also a best practice brief tomorrow. If you are interested in tweeting about the webinar, please use the hashtag keyword bidding, and we will be handing out a $25 Amazon.com gift card to one of the random tweeters today. You can buy all sorts of fabulous things with $25 from Amazon.com, as I'm sure you know. So today it is absolutely my pleasure to introduce our 2 presenters. We have Bill Quinn here today, who is our VP of Marketing here at Trada. Hello, Bill Quinn.
Hey, everyone.
Thanks for being here. And then we also have our old favorite, Matt Hessler, our account director from Trada.
What's going on, guys?
And we're very pleased to have them both here today. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and just type them into the chat box. We will get to as many questions as we possibly can at the end of the webinar. We love answering your questions, so please just keep typing them in. One voice you won't hear today is Danny Randa, who is our awesome marketing intern. He will be running the chat. If you have any questions, please send them to him. He'll be talking about some things with you today on the chat, so that's who he is. So let's get started. Bill, if you could actually get us, jumped off here, that would be great.
Yeah, I'm actually going to jump backwards really quickly. We got a question, what was the hashtag again? So hashtag was keyword bidding, so tweet at will. All right, let's get started. So keyword bidding strategies. What we're going to talk today about is really how to focus on tips and strategies to, around your keywords to help you get the lowest bid price possible. So hopefully these tips and tricks will help you find lower bid prices. All right, the first thing, get outside of Google. So, there's a lot of, other ad networks out there, Yahoo and Bing, the search alliance being the obvious one, where you can really make, a lot of hay, find lower cost clicks and higher conversions.
Yeah, we've seen this, across our marketplace where we have several hundred advertisers. It's really interesting to see what types of businesses can benefit from being on the search alliance. We've seen everything from travel to e-commerce really benefit. Bing does a lot of cashback shopping programs, things like that, and we find that we're able to actually find lower cost per click on some head and long tail terms, and that they, in many cases, do convert a little bit better as well.
Yeah, and then the other one is Facebook. And, Facebook isn't sort of straight up, paid search advertising. I feel like it kind of straddles the line between, pure display ads and paid search and in terms of how you think about it. But do you want to talk a little bit about Facebook?
Yeah, it's hard not to mention Facebook if you're talking about ways that you can, reduce some of your online marketing costs. You can get in front of a ton of people on Facebook. Their audience is growing. They're active. You can do lots of things, with targeting on Facebook. It is different than search, but it's a huge audience. I would caution people that, right now Facebook seems to be set up more around click-through rate and driving, visitors and eyeballs to sites or Facebook pages. They're not as conversion-focused. If you're a hardcore marketer needing to drive, positive ROI, Facebook might be worth dipping your toes in the water, but may not be worth a huge investment at this day and time.
All right, great. Next is keep your keywords relevant. So, highly relevant keywords, a lot of good things come from that. Better quality score, lower cost per click, improve your conversion rates. So how do we do that?
So, I think a lot of people ask, like, well, what does this have to do with a bidding strategy? Having good quality score on Google is pretty key for you being able to drive down your cost per click. So as part of an overall bidding strategy, you want to do a few things to raise that quality score. You want to, first of all, focus on, your architecture of your overall campaign. You want small, concise ad groups, 5 to 20 keywords, per ad group that are all very consistently themed. You want to then try to write 2 to 4 ads, rotate those around, see which one's driving up better click-through rate. And lastly, you want to make sure that you're targeting, deep link landing pages. So don't just send your traffic to the home page where you've probably got, very broad concepts. Send them as deep as you can. In this example, for a specific type of down jacket, you don't go to the home page for this. You go specifically to the product page. That's going to give you a better quality score on Google, allowing you to basically bid less with no no recourse from Google. Sometimes if you have a low quality score and you try to push down your bid prices, Google may take you out of the auction altogether and ask you to increase your bid to even appear on the first page.
All right, awesome. The next one, love negative keywords. So negative keywords, as you may know, prevents your ad from being served when that search term is used in a search query. So it really helps you prevent, your ad from being served when there's something totally irrelevant to what you're trying to accomplish with your paid search campaign.
Absolutely. So, negatives, again, fall into this quality score kind of theme. Let's focus, our cost per click, our overall cost, of our campaign on the keywords that really matter. We don't want to be spending superfluously on, Google matching us with other broad, permutations of our keyword. If we don't have a service that's free and we're getting matched with, our keywords, but with the permutation of free in front of it, that may be poorly spent money. If we can reduce some of that waste, we may be able to bid more effectively on the keywords that really matter to us.
Right. All right, the next one, find your optimal ad position. So this is the one I always say, keep your ego in check. A lot of times people get frustrated when they see their, competitors in the number 1 or 2 spots, or, I hear all the time when I'm at trade shows, conferences, oh, my CEO wants me to, be in the number 1 position because he feels like, we're more important there. And, people know they're kind of blowing through their budget by doing that. So, keep your ego in check. Don't overpay for the first or second ad position.
Yeah, we see this quite often as well. The ego thing it's a tough thing to overcome. People want that top position, and truth be told, you will get more clicks if you're in that first or second position on Google. The question is, how good are those clicks for your business? You see a lot of what we consider kind of impulse clicks. People don't even read the ad. They click straight away. They visit your site. They're there for a fraction of a second. They realize it's not what they were looking for. You just paid what can be an exorbitant amount to drive that visitor who wasn't really meaningful to your business. So what we find is trying to target positions 3 to 5 is really a sweet spot. It's a greater indication they've read something in your ad, they found something compelling, maybe you've got a call to action there. They then click through, they tend to stay longer, they tend to visit more pages, and ultimately, for those of you trying to drive positive ROI, they're more likely to convert. So we think that sweet spot is kind of 3 to 5, but now I think we're going to go ahead and just contradict ourselves on this next slide.
Yeah, exactly. So the next slide is basically forget everything we just said about ad position. Here, let me, sorry folks, hang on just a second. I think we lost network connection. Sorry, hang tight for just a minute.
Technical difficulties. Well, we can go into a little bit of this with or without the slide, kind of keep you guys moving. Basically, the next strategy we're going to talk about is something called bid popping. It's kind of an advanced function that a lot of it high-end PPC marketers will use. It's more about what do you do when you're starting brand new keywords. So if it's things like, I've just started this new ad group and I want to test it out, I want to make sure that I'm going to get good click-through rate off the bat, what we do is pursue this strategy called bid popping. So you actually start for the first, it can be 1 day, it can be a week, depending on how big your budget is and how many impressions you're getting. You start with very aggressive bidding, which seems contrary to lowering your overall cost. What this is going to allow you to do is you basically increase your bid price artificially at first. It gets you into that first or second position. From that first or second position, you basically are able to garner a really high click-through rate. That high click-through rate will translate into good quality score. And then over time, like I said, after anywhere from a few days to a week, you start to systematically reduce that bid price. So start high, get that high click-through rate, get that high quality score, start reducing your bid price anywhere from 10 to 15% per day until you settle into that proper position between 3 and 5, save yourself some money, reduce your cost, and at the same time you will have that historic good quality score because you started with a really high click-through rate.
Okay, awesome. Next, day parting. So day parting allows you to basically define what days of week or what times of the day your paid search ads are running. A lot of benefits to why you want to use day parting. You want to talk about that, Matt?
Yeah, so, again, this goes with spend smart. we talked about, overall this being a webinar about bidding strategies, and everybody thinks, oh, is that just, how can I be most competitive with my bidding? But think about it in terms of your overall budget. You've got X amount of dollars you can spend per month or per day. Let's target that at the time of day that's the most meaningful to your business. You want to make sure, if you're in dating, that could be between 7 p.m. and midnight. If you're in B2B, that might be, 9 to 5 during your business hours during the day. Figure out what those most productive periods are, the times when you're getting the most traffic and the highest conversion rate. Use day parting to target those areas specifically, and then spend what you need to get a decent position during those times. What you may find is that some of your competitors are a little bit lazy about their day parting. They're going to be running 24/7. They're going to be spending in off hours that maybe are low conversion, and they may exhaust their budget midway through the day, allowing you to garner better position for the same or less money.
Yeah, a great example of this is I remember talking to somebody one time who ran a company that delivered birthday cakes. If you have kids off at college and want to send them a birthday cake, you can get online, order them one, and they'll deliver it to your door. And, he was seeing huge spikes in traffic in the middle of the night, and he pretty quickly realized that it was, people coming home from the bars or whatnot late at night and clicking on his ads, and realized pretty quickly that wasn't a very fruitful use of his ad dollars. So, lots of examples like that where you can really maximize your ad spend using day parting. All right, next. So a little bonus tip for you is to optimize your campaign regularly. We're going to do a little survey here, and Anna, I'll let you serve that up. I just want to get a sense from everybody, how many of you are optimizing your campaign on a regular basis? So we'll let this survey run.
Actually, if you can just go to the next slide.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there you go.
Perfect.
Everyone, if you can take time to take this survey, and then we will, talk about it a little bit. We're going to give you about a minute to complete it.
So while people are doing the survey, let's recap some of these tips. So, our ideas in terms of lowering your overall spend or adjusting strategies to make the most bang for your buck in terms of your online marketing dollars. We're talking about, testing other networks, looking into Search Alliance, looking into things like Facebook to figure out what kind of returns you can get at potentially lower cost per click. Beyond that, we want to, do all of the best practices to keep our quality scores high. So that's low, tight ad groups. It's deep linking. It's, writing several versions of ad copy. We're talking about, applying some day parting to make sure you're spending money at the same, the best times for your business and really maximizing your effect there. We've also talked about optimal positioning, trying to get your ads ultimately to position 3 to 5, where you tend to have higher conversion rates at a little bit lower cost. And lastly, this kind of strategy of bid popping. So if you're starting new keywords or new ad groups, this is a theory where you start by bidding aggressively for good position, get high click-through rate, and then systematically work those bid prices down so that you're finding that optimal position at a lower cost. That's what you're constantly up against as a search marketer. We fight with this all the time here, where you want to bid as low as you can, get the best return for, spend as little as you can to get the best return, but you're going to be constantly fighting Google's quality score. You're going to constantly be monitoring your position to make sure you're not falling way below the fold or falling to the second page. So you want to really find that sweet spot of cost per click and position and quality score that's going to drive the best results for your campaign.
Yeah, and I think kind of the moral of that whole story is, keep your campaign moving. Keep trying new things all the time so that you can see, what's working and what's not. When your campaign kind of gets stagnant, or when you're not in there making changes and trying, new tips and new techniques, that's when your campaign kind of atrophies and you start to, go flat or backwards a little bit. So.
Absolutely. I mean, people that have had, great position for months and months, if you don't log in very often, don't be surprised to find that you logged in and you've dropped a couple positions on some of your most important keywords. That's because the market is always moving. It's a competitive auction landscape. Google's constantly reevaluating quality score. If you're not staying on top of this and kind of tending your garden, you can find that your positioning will just slip while it's unattended.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's look at the results of our little poll here. Thanks to everybody for taking this. This is great. So how often do you log in and optimize your campaign? It looks like the majority of the people do it, weekly or more often than that. The rest of people are a couple times a month, once a month, or less than once a month. So definitely, if you're in kind of the bottom three categories, a couple times a month, once a month, or less than that, you definitely want to try and be in there more often than that, optimizing your campaign in order to get the full benefit from it. Now, the flip side of that is I know it's incredibly challenging to do that. I'm obviously a marketer myself, running our marketing team, and I know how difficult it is to stay in there and continue to optimize your campaign all the time. It's easy to sort of get your campaign set up and then run off to do the 500 other marketing tasks that you need to do, and the next thing you know, a month has gone by and you haven't touched your campaign. So it's definitely a challenge that all of us face. So let's talk a little bit about how often you should be optimizing your campaign and how to think about what you should be doing when you go in and optimize. So it really kind of depends on a lot of it depends on the budget. For most people who have that are in small and medium-sized businesses, your budget is anywhere from, call it, $3,000 to $10,000 a month. You definitely want to be in there a couple of times a week, seeing what's working, seeing what's not. Getting rid of the things that are not bearing any fruit for you, and trying to riff on new ideas that are working for you. So, look at your search terms and see what people are searching on that are generating conversions. Start building out your keyword list from that. There's all sorts of things that you can continually be doing to squeeze more and more out of your campaign.
And I know a lot of people just feel overwhelmed when they're in there, and what can I do that's actually tactical? I mean, I would look at some of your priority ad groups, do a quick sort of the keywords to prioritize those that are driving the highest click volume. Pay the best attention to those. I know a lot of times on some of the bigger campaigns that I work, I'll look at those top 10 to 20, 25 keywords. I'll just keep a ledger by my computer of where they were at for click-through rate and position. If I adjust the bid price, I'll make a notation. It's obviously very hard to do that across thousands of keywords, but there's a typical 80-20 rule at work here, and if you look at that top 20% and really tend to those, it's going to make a big impact on your campaign.
Great. So let's kind of look at the market at large, where everybody else, and this is based on a report that SEO Roundtable produced. How often do other people optimize their campaign? Relatively similar to the results that we saw in our little test here. 50% or so, a little more than that do it either daily or weekly, and then the rest is sort of everything beyond that. So. Definitely a good bonus tip. Keep working on your campaign all the time. Keep trying new things.
So guys, this is Anna again. I wanted to hold a poll to sort of get an idea of how the content we've been providing has been serving your specific needs. So a lot of you are some dedicated webinar attendees. We love having you, but we kind of wanted to start thinking about different sorts of levels of content and splitting things out. So if you wouldn't mind completing this poll, which types of content are the most useful for you? Are you into PPC tips for beginners? Are you just getting started? Would you like some sort of practical, strategic, intermediate PPC kind of stuff, or are you really looking for the advanced stuff? We've actually done webinars at all levels. Some of them are sort of the PPC basics, and then we've gotten into some crazy stuff like dynamic keyword insertion and how to really mess around with your quality scores. And coming up, we'll also be doing some sort of broad SMB and enterprise marketing help. So I'd really like to kind of get an idea of what you guys are really interested in. So I'm going to give you just a couple minutes to complete the poll here. And we really appreciate you guys coming all the time. We love our webinar attendees. We love our super engaged questions that we get. And we will be getting to the questions portion in just a few minutes.
Yeah, so if you guys have already submitted your answers to the surveys, think about questions. We think it's the most valuable part. We try to put together interesting content for the webinar, but we have a good history in pay-per-click search, lots of knowledge in the room, so ask us anything. We're happy to answer questions, and that's the part of the webinar that's both the most fun for us and hopefully the most valuable for you.
Yeah, and we've definitely, we will be continuing to deliver content at all levels, but we want to make sure that we are delivering the right content and inviting you guys to the right stuff. So I'm going to give you just another second here.
Yeah, this is great. I'm seeing a ton of responses come in. So thanks, everybody, for this feedback. Again, it really helps us sort of tailor our webinars to what helps you the most, which is what this is really all about.
Yeah, this is awesome.
All right, so we will go ahead and close the poll. What do you want to do?
I'm going to drive from my computer now.
All right. Here we go.
All right. Awesome. So I'm actually a little bit surprised because, we do get a lot of requests for PPC tips for beginners, but it looks like a lot of you are definitely more interested in stuff at the sort of intermediate and advanced level. And if you would like to editorialize by sending me a message in the chat, I will definitely take a look at that and consider it.
Yeah, if there are specific topics that you'd like us to talk about, we'd love to hear that from you. Suggestions are always welcome.
Yep.
All right, great. So that's kind of the content of this webinar. We're going to take just a little bit of time to talk to you about Trada, and we'll let Anna talk about this. But I mentioned earlier that as we were talking about how often do you get in and optimize your campaign, work on your campaign, and I mentioned that that's really one of the challenges that I faced as a marketer, and that's really the reason that Trada exists is for marketers like us who know that we need to be going in there and optimizing our campaign all the time, but just don't have the time to do that, or are not able to get in there as often as we want to. So take it away, Anna.
Yeah. So here's where we take literally just 2 minutes to talk about how Trada can run your SEM campaign for you. And I know it sounds crazy, but it really doesn't cost any more than if you were going to do search marketing yourself. It really is different from anything you've probably ever seen before. This is how it works. We apply the crowdsourcing approach to paid search. So we have a giant global crowd of certified search experts. They live all around the world. They're an incredibly diverse crowd. They have different backgrounds in paid search. Many of them have worked at agencies for have worked their way up in search. And the idea here is we actually put multiple experts to work on your campaign at the same time. So rather than just having one person working for you, it's like you have a team of 2, 5, 10, depending on your budget, any number of search marketing professionals working for you at the same time. And because they are working at the same time, you get this massive, incredible diversity of thinking. If you were going to sit down and try and think of all the keywords that you should put into your campaign, you alone probably couldn't do this because you don't have this diversity of thinking. But the crowd does. They constantly optimize. They log in every single day. And you can advertise on multiple ad networks, Google, Yahoo, and Bing, all at the same time. And best of all, it's pay for performance. There are no fees. So you really do just set a budget, and you don't pay any more than if you were to do it yourself. So if you would like a demo, please just type in "I'd like a demo," and we will be so happy to set that up for you. So that's the end of my pitch. Let's move on to the questions. Matt and Bill, you guys have been really great today. I'm going to just moderate some of the questions. We've gotten a ton of questions in, and we will definitely try and get to as many as we possibly can. Also, I want to remind you that this is getting up to your last chance to use the hashtag keyword bidding. Is that right? The hashtag is keyword bidding, and we will be giving away a $25 Amazon.com gift card. So let's jump right in. I'm going to start with a question from Kirill, who says, how would you keep optimizing keywords when you have about 10,000 ad groups, and each ad group has between 4 and 30 keywords? Matt, do you mind weighing in on this? That's a big campaign.
Sure. So it absolutely is. I would say you need to do a few things. I think the most bang for your buck, if you've only got a couple hours to dedicate to your PPC campaign, and it is that large, is to maybe be doing some general keyword reports where you can go through and stack rank your keywords by what's delivering the most clicks, right? Even going through all of those ad groups can be quite time consuming. So if you can get one report across all keywords in a specific campaign, see where your greatest impact is, both in terms of things that are generating the highest clicks versus highest conversion. The idea being, okay, I'm looking for keywords that drive a lot of costs and low conversion. Those are kind of my dead weight. I want to reduce the bids on those or eliminate them altogether. I want to look to see if maybe those are broad match and I need to strengthen my negatives around those keywords. So you're kind of dividing and conquering your work across all your keywords. Look at the stuff driving the greatest amount of spend, greatest amount of conversions, and look for the really good stuff and the really bad stuff. Really bad stuff, dead weight, driving a lot of expense without a lot of conversions. Good stuff, obviously, things driving a disproportionately high amount of conversions, there you're really focused on how do I maximize their positioning, pay what I need to drive as many visitors from those keywords that have proven to be high conversion. I know that's really, pretty superficial stuff, really high level, but it's the most brass tacks way to approach a campaign with that many keywords. The other thing that I think is dead simple and worth doing at least once a month is pull your Google search queries report. This is going to show you every query that one of your phrases was matched with. This will give you one place to kind of build your negative list. Look for any things that are off topic, that are driving visitors or less meaningful to your business, and add those to your campaign level negatives. That process can be done in 30 minutes and make a big impact on your campaign.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Matt. Here's another question from Tony. She wants to know, we see a huge amount of verifiable click fraud verified by using ClickTail when we use Facebook and LinkedIn. Do you have any suggestions on combating click fraud other than sending daily proof to Facebook and LinkedIn? This is a fascinating question.
It is. It's a great question, and it's one of the problems with, Google took 10 years to mature how they handle click fraud, how do they identify it and suppress it so that you never see it to begin with. Facebook and LinkedIn, much more in their infancy, aren't protecting their users quite as well. So your best bet is documentation. I don't know if it really is, makes the most sense to do it daily, but you want to keep logs of all of those clicks. You're looking for, bundles of clicks from IP addresses that are questionable. You're looking for short bursts of many clicks from the same IP address. You want to catalog those and report them to the engines, to be compensated for those fraudulent clicks. Unfortunately, there's not much in the way of combating those. You can, potentially suppress visits from an entire, block of IPs if you wanted to block out the Middle East or India. That stuff gets pretty technical, and it may force you out of some good visitors as well.
Thanks a lot, Matt. So we have another question from Victor Mendez, who wants to know, it is recommended to high bid and budget low. The problem is my budget will be consumed within the first 4 hours of the day. Do you recommend to start the campaign at different times during the day to see how different hours convert, or would you recommend a different strategy?
So with Google, they will attempt to smooth your ad serving across the runtime that you've indicated that is acceptable for you. So I would suggest doing some day parting if you're on a limited budget with high bids. It's a pretty common problem. So, systematically check different periods of the day to see when you're getting better conversion rates. That process can take a while because you can have different behaviors based on both the time of the day and the day of week. So what worked well on a Monday morning may be different from a Friday morning. Think about the psychology of your users a bit. Are they just getting into work for the day? Are they ending their work week? Is it the weekend? So be sensible, apply some common sense to what you're testing there. But yeah, you will have to do some testing. Definitely make sure in your campaign settings on Google there's a little blue icon for delivery methods. Make sure you set that to standard delivery as opposed to accelerated. That will give Google the notes to try to serve your ads as smoothly as possible across your runtime.
Thanks, Matt. So here's a question from Adam about Trada. He wants to know, what is the minimum budget for a Trada campaign?
Great. So the minimum budget is $3,000 a month. And the reason that we have a minimum is because we're a marketplace, we have found that your campaign really gets the most amount of traction, the best traction, when there's enough budget for optimizers to go explore and discover what's working for you, and then really optimize based on what they're finding that's working to really help maximize your ROI. So $3,000 is our minimum budget, and it can go up to anything from there.
And I'm just going to squeeze another question about Trada in there. Chad wants to know, my biggest concern about Trada is the quality of the optimizers. How do I know that they are working towards my goals?
So the nice thing is we align the optimizers with our advertisers' goals. So for an optimizer to profit from a campaign, they need to be successfully driving low-cost clicks and also conversions to your business under your goal. That's how they're incented, and by keeping the incentives for the optimizers aligned with the goals of the advertiser, it's really a win-win situation. The other nice thing is you have full transparency, so you see who's working on your campaign, you see their individual statistics. So if myself, Anna, and Bill are all working on a campaign, and I don't know much about your industry and I'm really screwing it up, you'll see that I'm getting a lower click-through rate, a lower conversion rate, driving up your CPA, while Anna's a rock star. You can then message those people directly or take some steps to actually have them removed from your campaign. So you have full control. You see who's working on it, and the benefit of all those different strategies. They don't all win all the time, and if we need to change those strategies or those optimizers, you can.
Yeah, and I'll just add on to that a little bit. So to be clear about how optimizers get paid, they don't, it's not a monthly fee that goes to them, or it's not a % of your ad spend that goes to them. They literally earn money based on their performance on your campaign. So they only earn money when they're generating low-cost clicks or conversions that are below your goal. If they don't beat your goal, they don't earn any money. So their incentive system is very much aligned with what you want out of the campaign.
And not to make this answer even longer, but I just wanted to mention that there are also a lot of mechanisms in place to make sure that you are in control of your campaign. This isn't a completely hands-off approach, as like if you were to hand this off to an agency. You actually have the power to get in there and approve and disapprove work. So, the idea here is basically you're the expert on your business. These guys are the experts on doing PPC, and they have the time to do it. So here's a question I think we're going to have a lot of fun answering. Wayne wants to know, have wasted a ton of money on PPC due to lack of time to understand and hone PPC strategy. Have since focused on SEO and organic effort, which is free, and feeling is that I should just phase out SEM over time. Why should I care about PPC in the long term?
Ooh, the epic battle of SEO versus SEM. This is something we talk about a lot. Both strategies are important to most online marketers. SEO, if you can, get in there and get great rankings over time, that's going to drive really valuable traffic to your business. We don't take anything away from our friends that do SEO. We think it's an important part of an overall strategy. The problem with SEO is you're typically limited to a fairly finite number of search terms. So if you're in a business where people are looking for you in lots of different ways, using lots of different language, it's really hard to optimize your site to get traffic from all of those visitors. You may have to pick a very small set of terms that are your kind of core terms, get great ranking on those, and then go after that kind of long tail, people using different types of language to search for you using PPC, and try to do that as cost effectively as possible. It does take a lot of work, but we find that the fruits there are great. You may have 10,000 keywords, as another participant mentioned in your campaign. Your SEO efforts may be focused on 20 of those 10,000. Well, are you ready to give up the rest of those potential visitors that might be looking for you in all of those other ways?
Thanks, Matt. So here's a question from James. We recently dropped a lot of dead weight from our campaign, going from about 500K ad spend per year to just over 200K. Obviously, it's still a very large campaign. I was just wondering, while we are optimizing and making our campaigns convert better, how long should we let new keywords run?
So it's a good question. It's usually not measured in a length of time in terms of hours, days, or months.
Actually, I should say James had a follow-up.
Oh.
He said maybe the better question would be how many clicks before making a decision on a particular keyword or phrase, which is I think where you were going.
That's exactly where I was going, is you really want to look at measures of the volume of impressions and the volume of clicks. It also depends a little bit on the buying cycle for your product or service. So you could be collecting a ton of click data. If it takes somebody 3 weeks or 5 weeks to do the research and decide to commit to a purchase, you may have to run this for a little bit longer because you want to see, did those initial clicks end up converting? But specifically on a keyword level, I think a lot of people use a basis of at least 100 clicks to start making informed decisions. People that are very data intensive would ask for more than 100 clicks, but I know in certain verticals that can get cost prohibitive where you've already spent several $100s on that keyword before you make a decision. So I tend to start making price position decisions as early as 50 clicks and then kind of stay or go, should I eliminate this keyword after about 100 clicks.
Thanks, Matt. So here is a question that I think is really topical to the topic that we covered today. Tony wants to know, my employer places tight budgets on PPC, so I'd be interested in seeing how to maximize that. So when you're really being constrained by budgets that your boss gives you, how can you really make sure that you can actually show results?
So this is all about spending money in the right place. So, some of the things we covered in the webinar today, it would be, I would make sure I had an understanding of my most successful times of day and day of week. So I'm focused on serving my ads at the right time of day and the right days of week. That I've got small, tight ad groups, probably using almost exclusively phrase or exact match keywords. I want to keep the keywords really on target. I'd be willing to pay more for those keywords, but only if they are the right keywords for my business. So, you can't be too thrifty and go for 10,000 keywords and price them really low. You want to go for great keywords. You want to pay what you need to get good position, but make sure they're highly, highly focused. So the right keywords showing at the right time, and then test a ton of ad copy. That doesn't cost you anything. If you can increase that click-through rate, just from writing clever ads, that's great bang for your buck right there.
The other thing that I would add to that is to, work with your boss or your employer to define what success is. So, understand what a positive ROI is for your paid search campaign so that should I be spending more? If we're getting, if my target cost per conversion, and I know that I'm running a profitable business at, a $30 conversion, say, if you can generate $25 conversions, you'll spend, money theoretically indefinitely until obviously that goes above that amount. But, it's really important to understand what your goals are, what your success metrics are, so that you can then use data as your friend to go back to your boss and say, hey, we're doing really well on this paid search campaign. If I can get more budget, I can, generate even more conversions, which will, result in more sales. So, understand your success metrics and use data as your friend to be able to go garner more budget from your boss.
Thanks, guys. So we've actually had a couple questions about Quality Score, which I'd like to touch on now. But if you guys want to learn more about Quality Score, we actually really recently did a very in-depth webinar on how to score with Quality Score, where we talked not only about what it all is made up of, but also how to fix a failing quality score. A lot of great information in there. And you can watch that webinar or check out the best practice brief at trada.com/resources. But in the meantime, this question comes from two different people. I'm going to kind of split it up. Rich and Joe both want to know not only how is quality score calculated, so if we could touch on that briefly, but also what is the minimum quality score to be perceived as good and non-penalized by Google?
All right. So there's a lot of stuff in there, and as Anna mentioned, we've committed a whole webinar to this in the past. But first thing, anything actually above about a 4. I mean, it's not considered good quality score, but you probably shouldn't see penalties if you're getting quality scores of 4 and above. For whatever reason, if we look across the millions of keywords that are running across the Trada network, we see an odd distribution. Google, I don't know if they've got a prime number thing or what, they tend to bucket keywords as like 1, 3, 5, 7, and then 7 and up. 7, if you're getting quality scores of 7 and up, you're doing great. You're actually probably getting preferred position while you're spending less money. If you're finding yourself kind of 4 to 7, probably no penalty but no benefit. If you're falling below a 4, you may be getting penalized where Google's actually asking you to pay more for those keywords. So what do you do if you find yourself with a whole bunch of keywords and a quality score 3? What we suggest is actually think about ways to thematically break those down. So maybe you've got an ad group that's got 50 or 100 keywords in it. Can we make that into 5 different ad groups that are way tighter, way more themed in terms of the nature of the keywords? Then write ads that have as many instances of those keywords in the ads as possible. So Google is measuring the relevancy of the keyword to the ad and the relevancy of that pair to the landing page, and then they're also looking at click-through rate as an overall indicator. I mean, quality score, and I hate to be disparaging to Google as they're such an awesome tool in general, but Google's basically using quality score to figure out how are they going to make the most money. It's not to necessarily be friendly to you as an advertiser or to the consumer. Quality score is an indication of how likely is this ad to get clicked times how much is somebody willing to pay for this ad. That's how they're figuring out what position you're in and where you're getting indexed. it's somewhat self-serving. They do believe in giving the customer the best, experience, that they're going to get a highly relevant search query, but they also want to maximize their earnings. So if you've got a great click-through rate, that's going to always improve your quality score. Even if you've got a bananas keyword going to an apples landing page, if you've got great click-through rate for whatever reason you wrote good ad copy, you may still get yourself a couple extra points on your quality score.
Patty just weighed in and said, but doesn't a good quality score keyword reduce the cost of the keyword?
It does. It does. It doesn't by nature reduce the cost. It allows you to bid lower with less penalty. So you don't automatically get your cost reduced. Sometimes you can pay the same amount and get a better position. So I could be spending 60 cents. If I've got a great quality score, I might find myself in position 3. I may have a competitor who's paying 75 cents, so they're paying significantly more than me, but because their quality score is really low, I'm still appearing above them. And mostly that's Google saying the first person is more likely to get a click, even though we'll make less money. Because they're so much more likely to get a click, we'd still serve them in a higher position.
That's great. I think that's an important distinction. So we've had actually several questions about display and content networks. So I'm going to kind of glom them together. Adam and Patty both want to know, basically, my display ads get much lower CTRs than search. Should I abandon display? How would you split your budget between the two? And then Patty asks, do you see value in running campaigns on both the search and content networks simultaneously? So it's sort of a similar idea here, basically about how you should split up your spend.
Yep. So I am a big fan of display. It depends on the type of product or service that you're promoting, but I think display can be really powerful. I would set that up as a completely separate campaign. So a lot of people just option to add display as one of their network preferences to their existing search campaign. What I would do is I would take maybe the top 10% of my keywords in terms of best performers. I would build a content campaign around those, and I would run that as a separate campaign with its own budget. It also keeps the statistics a whole lot cleaner, so you're not getting blended click-through rate. Google at this point is smart enough to know the difference, so if you're getting a low click-through rate on your display, it's probably not affecting the quality score of your search traffic. They do look at them as differently, but for you as a marketer, setting them up as separate campaigns with different budgets and the ability to keep that data, from commingling, I think is really important. Then if you find display is really not working, you just go ahead and pause that campaign. The other thing with display is it's its own, whole world of optimization. You need to really look at the source list that you're being displayed on and look at how relevant those sources are. So there's a whole nother set of optimization that happens there in terms of picking the right display sources, places that you want your ad to appear.
Yeah, I'll just add on to that. I mean, display is really valuable for, reaching people who may not know that they need your product, right? So you can sort of put your ad in front of them when they're not explicitly searching for you. So there's great benefit there. In terms of how you should split your budget, I think my answer would be let the data tell you the right thing to do. So wherever you're getting the highest ROI, that's how you should sort of modulate and split your budget. So, look at your click-through rates, look at your conversions, look at your cost per conversion, and that information really will lead you to the right answer, I think. And then sort of to add on to what Matt said, one of the things you have to sort of really watch with Content Network is, a little bit playing whack-a-mole with the sites on which your ad gets served, because, if you're not watching that carefully, you could be getting served up on sites that really don't have much relevancy to your product.
Thanks, guys. So, everyone, we are getting really close to the top of the hour. It actually is the top of the hour. So I'm going to take one more question. If we missed your question, please feel free to reach out to us. Email dmiranda@trada.com. We will get you connected with the right person. Again, if you'd like a Trada demo, all you have to do is type in "I'd like a demo," and we'll be happy to set that up for you. I'm going to take one more question, and then we'll say goodbye. This is actually back to the SEO versus PPC battle from Wayne. It sounds like from your previous comments that PPC is more useful in a B2C environment, where customer language may be a lot more diverse than in B2B environments, where the business lexicon is a bit more limited, and as a result, the keyword universe is more manageable. What do you have to say about this, guys?
I like Wayne's thoughts here, and I think they are on target. I agree. PPC has the biggest benefits when you've got the highest diversity of ways that people search for the product. I wouldn't necessarily make that distinction as a B2B versus B2C thing, but think about your industry. We even see some consumer industries that are so niche that there's a very finite way that people might search for the product. The one other, kind of parting thought on should we do both that I'll leave people with is the idea that on any search results page, there's up to about 20 different placements that can be there. You have to ask yourself, even with strong SEO, are you comfortable only being one of 20, so you're 5% of the results? If you're doing SEO and pay-per-click, you could be 10% of those results. If you're still driving conversions that are ROI positive for you, why wouldn't you still try to pursue a pay-per-click program? Obviously, if you're limited on time and other resources, that may not be the case, but as Bill likes to say, let the data be your guide. If you've got positive ROI, I would always consider doing both an integrated PPC and SEO program.
The other thing is, and I mean, we could go on about this forever, remember that PPC is utterly measurable, and SEO is harder to measure. And data that you bring, that PPC gives you, you can use across channels, and it's just incredibly valuable. So that's something that we always like to promote. So everyone, we are going to say goodbye to you today. Thank you so much for coming. We will be sending you a best practice brief, a recording, and a link to the slides probably later today. Thanks so much for coming, and we hope we'll see you at the next webinar. This is the end of the webinar.
Au revoir.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.